Good morning and welcome everyone. This is John Hoyt, Solutions Consultant here at TMC. Thank you for joining us. This is our monthly webinar series for August. And with us today, we are very pleased to have from Rockton Software, Alicia Weigel, who is the Technical Sales Team Lead for Rockton. And she's going to be doing a webinar for us over two of their products, the SmartFill and Auditor. Alicia, thank you much for joining us, and go ahead, please.
All right, thanks so much, John, and thanks everybody for stopping by today and taking time out of your day to attend. A little bit about myself. As John said, I'm the Technical Sales Team Lead with Rockton. Basically, I'm a little bit technical and a little bit of sales, so just enough to be dangerous. I've been with Rockton just about 2 years now, and I do lots of our webinar presentations, and I also go out and visit with customers and things like that at big events like Convergence, if you've been to that one. So that's a little bit about myself. I came from Microsoft GP days. I did support out there back in 2005 for a couple years, so that's kind of where I got my technical side and moved on to the sales side and enjoy that. But a little bit about Rockton, if you're not familiar with our company in general, we were started back in 1999, so we've been around for a very long time by technology company standards. And our main goal with all of our products is really just what you're seeing on your screen there, making GP work simpler and easier. And that's kind of the mantra of our president and CEO. Everything about GP, he wants to make it better and make it easier for you, the end users, to work with the software day to day. So that's kind of where our development and our culture all lies with, within GP space. So today I'm going to show you a couple of our products. As you can see on your screen, we've got 5 in our suite, and we're going to be taking a look at Auditor and SmartFill today, as John alluded to. And I'm not much for PowerPoint, so I promise I won't show you too many slides, but we'll go ahead and get started today with SmartFill. All right, there we go, a little delay. So SmartFill, if you're not familiar with this product, what it is and kind of what it does, it is a Google or a Bing style search engine. So when you think about you're sitting at your computer and you're typing into your Google spacebar and you're looking for movie theaters, once you start typing movie, Google is going to start giving you that list underneath what you're typing, and it's going to try to figure out what it is you're looking for. Are you looking for rentals? Are you looking for theaters? Are you looking for the top 10 movies in 2005? Whatever. It's going to start kind of feeding you some possible results. So it makes it quicker for you to select without you having to type out everything that you were thinking. So that's exactly what SmartFill is, and it's for finding records in GP. So this is a way faster lookup than ever having to go and click that little magnifying glass again. Out of the box, it is already working in 4,000 plus areas of GP, which means you don't have to customize anything. It's just going to go and it's going to search all those places without having to set anything up. And it also, as we've got on our screen here, it works with third-party products. So I'll talk about that a little bit more here once we actually look at the product. All right, as promised, not much PowerPoint. So we're going to go right into GP. And I want to make sure you guys can see that. All right. All right, so we're going to start out looking for an account. So we're going to go out to our account card. So in this window, we look at customers who have huge charts of accounts, or maybe you've got a smaller chart but you don't have them all memorized. You've got new data entry people in your office. It takes a while to kind of get the flow of what those accounts are. So think about how much faster it would be if you could just tell GP what account you were looking for, and we would just fill that window in for you. So what we're going to do is we're going to type cash right across where we would normally have to have a number, and we're just going to tab through. And this make a selection window was SmartFill going to work for me. So rather than having to click the little magnifying glass here and wait for that list to load, and then I scroll down through the list and I'm looking for cash, cash, cash. Oh, I clicked off of it a little bit, shot right back up to the top, and is enough to drive you crazy? Instead, I get a nice little condensed list of 12 results. I have 12 accounts in my chart of accounts that somewhere in this description piece says cash. So I can pick from this list. Let's say we're looking at New Zealand. We can go ahead and grab that, and we'll fill in that window for me rather than having to sort through. To clear this, if we only have maybe one result, in the case of that petty cash, I can type petty, tab through, and that window fills in right away for me. And this isn't just going to be in those cards windows. This is all over GP. So especially when you're maybe doing really long journal entries and things like that in the transactions part, typing out all those distributions, this is going to be a huge time saver for you just in your day-to-day data entry types. So that's going to be one area. I'm going to show you that this works everywhere. So let's go out to a transaction, and we'll go sell something. And in my customer ID, and all I know is I'm looking for a customer. Maybe they're on the phone and they said their name was Jim West. Well, instead of having to go use this and find the W's, I can type West, and here's my selections. I've got 2 West customers. So we'll grab West Central Distributors, and we'll come down here. Now, where I think SmartFill is a really big time saver for folks are those of you that might have large inventory sets. So rather than having to remember part numbers or what the green widget's actual item number is, I can just type green here, tab, and now it's going to show me everything that I have that is either green in the item number, in the description, in the short name, etc. So I've got 4 results here that are green in my inventory list. And what's cool with SmartFill is that it's super simple to customize it so that it can do different things for you. So if you look right here, I've got a quantity on hand and a quantity available. So what I did was I just did a simple calculated field when I was looking at my object, which is item. And I'm able to say, okay, this is how much I have available to sell. Here's what I've got on hand, but there's some allocated. So in this case, I've only got 26 to sell. This is a nice piece for my person that's maybe on the phone with that customer. If I'm at a negative quantity or I'm down to my last one, I may need to substitute an item. So this gives me kind of that option to see exactly what my inventory is that's available to me without having to go and drilling into the inventory module and going through those items and checking out what I've got available. So that's another place that SmartFill is just really flexible for the customers. All right, I'm going to show you guys how easy it is to actually customize something with SmartFill. So let's get out of that. So I am by no means a developer, and I can do this. So you can do this too. All right, let's open this up. So out of the box, I had mentioned SmartFill's got about 4,000 searches running in all those little places. Basically, wherever you can use a magnifying glass, you are able to use SmartFill. And you can search on all sorts of different pieces of the puzzle. So these are, out of the box, the objects that come with SmartFill. So we've got 20 of them here. So if you see accounts, checkbooks, customers, employees, vendors, salespeople, all of these places are already set up and working as soon as you install the product. So then if you want to come into one and you want to customize it, or you can create new ones, let's come in and customize a vendor here. Okay, so we're inside the object. This is where we could start linking tables and playing with calculated fields. But if I just want to come in and customize something that's already sitting out here, I can come in and I can say I'm going to grab that vendor master, and I think that it would be easier for my employees or my data entry folks to be able to search their vendors in addition to their vendor ID, their name, and their class. It might be helpful for them to be able to search by city. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm just going to plunk city in here. I'm going to say I want to search it and display it. This is where I can come in and kind of make my make a selection window look different. I can drag my columns and resize things. But that's all I have to do to add that piece. So we'll save this. We'll OK to that. And now let's go out and grab a vendor. And we're going to say we want to find our vendors that are in Chicago. So I'll just type Chicago across there. tab again, and now I've got a list of all of my vendors that have Chicago either in their vendor name, in their ID, or they've got an address with a Chicago city. So that can be really nice as far as just kind of pulling that quick list, or maybe you've got vendors that are in different offices or different branches. This might be faster than having to scroll through and find it by their address. So that's how easy it is to actually customize it. You certainly don't have to know a lot about table structure or anything like that, and very flexible and easy to use. And as I said, you could use this with third-party products. So if you guys use something like binary streams multi-entity management or collections management, maybe a WhenSoft product, something like that, those are all considered dexterity-based products. There's tons and tons of them out there. You probably have them and don't even know it. But if you wanted to create objects around those, it's just as easy as what I just did there. We can just add a couple of fields and start searching with those. So if you want to be able to find, you know, a new fixed asset or a service call ID or an equipment piece, all of those can be made into objects, and then those searches are available to you as well. So that is SmartFill in a nutshell. So we'll take a look now at our Auditor product. And what Auditor kind of does, if we go grab a slide here quick, when you think of auditing, chances are you're thinking of fraud and SOX compliance, things like that. And that was kind of the main reason that Auditor was developed. We wanted to have something out there because out of the box, GP doesn't actually have any auditing built into it, which is kind of unusual for accounting software. So to meet those needs for our customers, we developed Auditor, and we made it as simple to use as possible. Remember, we work simpler and easier here. So it's really, again, just as simple as kind of what I showed you on SmartFill, to do things with Auditor, to customize things, to do your reporting. So when you're trying to meet those challenges of who changed that address on that vendor for me on what might have been the last month or 2 months back, and why has that changed? Without auditing software in place, you can't answer that. It's going around the office and saying, was it you, was it you, was it you? And if you're anything like some of the offices I've been in, nobody is going to raise their hand and say, yep, it was me, I messed that up, sorry. So with Auditor, we're able to find out the who, the what, the where, the when, and the why of changes that happen all over GP. So we're going to get into this part of the product. Get out of PowerPoint. There we go. All right. So we're going to go back and grab a vendor here again. Let's see. We'll grab Wood Consulting. So some things to keep in mind when you're auditing and how our auditing software is different from other products. Our Auditor is a field-specific auditing piece. So that means that I can pull open any window in GP or in my third-party products, and I can look at all the places where I would have to input data, and I can track every single one of those little fields. So we let you get as granular or as particular as you want about the changes that you want to capture. So we don't capture everything on this window. Right now I've got a few different audits running on fields, but I'm not capturing everything, which allows us to make kind of a smaller footprint in the size of your databases and bringing in data. So we keep performance at an absolute max all the time because we're only capturing those fields that you care about. So let's look at a couple fields here. When I'm looking at this vendor maintenance field, when I do demos, this is something that virtually 100% of the time my customers want to be checking this vendor check name. We want to know why would someone change this and who would change it. So we can come in here. This is kind of a red flag for some fraud. And I'm going to go ahead and say that Alicia Weigel feels like getting another paycheck this month. And then I'm going to go over and I'm going to mail it to myself here. We'll change the address. And we're going to send this to Fargo, North Dakota. Okay, so at this point, my user, they aren't really aware that they're being audited. You aren't seeing anything really change on this window at all. We aren't flagging anything. There's no alarms going off that someone changed something because we give you two different options while you're auditing. Number one, you can audit silently in the background. Nobody knows that you're auditing them. There's no, like I said, flashing lights or big alarms. Or you can let your user know that the field is being audited and require them to give you a reason why they made a change. So we're going to look at both of those examples right now. So as soon as I hit my Save button, my audit has been written to my audit table, and my user is getting this fancy little message here. So this auditor note maintenance is alerting my user that, hey, you just changed something that you shouldn't have, and you're going to tell me why you did it. So they've got a required field here that they need to give you the reason why they changed the vendor check name. So I have the option to create predefined reasons that'll drop down here, or they can free text type as well. And if we look down here at the lower right-hand side of my screen, you see this Audit Message Center notification. And what that's doing is it's letting my audit administrators know in real time that someone just changed a sensitive field. So we made those changes to the address too. We didn't want to alert the CFO that someone changed an address. But maybe if someone's coming in here and changing a check name, or they're changing social security numbers around, or they're doing something like that, you might want to know about it right away. So this little indicator is going to pop up in their GP session if they're online, and it's going to let them know. So, hey, go take a look at your message center. If they miss that message, it's getting saved into their own personal message center so that they can go in and review any messages that they might have missed. And you can also trigger that to send an email to those same folks, letting them know in case they are maybe on vacation or they're out of the office at the time, hey, this field just got changed, so they can call and make the necessary corrections if it's something that shouldn't have been changed. So we've got this point where my user has to type something in here. So I'm going to say that I was committing fraud because everybody is that upfront when they're trying to rip you off. So we'll say okay to that. And at that point, that's all of the interaction that my user has with Auditor. They simply gave us a reason, and now they can move on with their next change, or they can log out of GP. We don't mind whatever they do after that. So now as an auditor, I can come in and I can report on those changes that just happened. And we do all of our reporting right through standard GP SmartLists. So this means you don't actually have to buy SmartList Builder. You don't have to use SmartList Designer. This works just plain old vanilla GP SmartList. You can use those other options if you have them and you want to build something a little more complex. But we pretty much feel that we've got the market cornered as far as the information you're going to want to see just out of the basics. So when you install Auditor, we're going to create this fancy little Auditor folder for you. And then there's going to be 3 subfolders underneath that. So audits are going to hold everything that you audit. So the way our product works, we sit in the Dynamics database. That means you can audit all of your companies at the same time, and you can also report on all of your companies from whatever company you're in GP. So if I've got 5 companies and I'm in company 1, I can see 1 through 5 in whatever company I'm in. E-sign approvals, what this is it's free with Auditor, and it allows you to lock down sensitive fields. So in the event that maybe that check name is something that you don't want anyone to change unless they have a passcode or a secondary approver, you can do that with e-sign approvals, and we can put a lock on that field. Does not work on buttons. Everybody wants it to work on the post button, but it doesn't work on the buttons. But think of those fields that you might want to have that second person take a look at. So with that, it's locked down, and we capture that whole activity string as it goes through. So who requested the approval, why are they making the change, who did they ask to be their approver, and was that change approved or denied. So that's all kept separately in our e-sign approvals. And then in our security audits folder, another thing that kind of sets us apart from other products out there is that we will automatically track all of the changes that happen in your GP security by marking one checkbox. So that means if you want to audit changes like when a new user is created or deleted, maybe someone is modifying a task, they're giving a user a new role, they've created a new role, all of those types of activities are considered security changes. So those are kept track of. You don't have to set anything up, and those will be all in this folder for you so that you can easily come in here, search it by date ranges, and produce a report for your auditors showing all your security changes for the year. Very slick. But we're going to focus on the auditor side and the audits folder. And this is a fairly new install of GP for me, so I don't have a ton of audits in here. But this would actually be showing me all of the audits that I have across all of my modules, across all my companies, for all my users. So this is kind of the holding tank for everything that you would be auditing in your GP. And from here, I'm able to parse my data out just by using the standard search functions. So if I want to see everything that my SA user's been up to that I've been auditing, I can come in here and say, where my user ID is equal to SA, I want to see those changes. So I can do that. I can say OK, and now it's showing me just the changes that my SA user has made. I can do that by date ranges, by module, by individual fields. Maybe I want to see all the address changes that I've made this month. I can do that back and forth and start kind of creating my own reports. So you're going to use the SmartList features to build your reports. So like I just said, I've got, let's look at August 2015 audits. I did this date range. I can come in here. I've created a favorite so that I can grab that anytime I want. And then I'm able to just quick run, grab that, and then I've got my different options, same as any other SmartList, to get them out of GP. I can send it to Word if I want to send it out to Excel, or print this off and email it to someone. I can do that just using the regular auditor functions, or excuse me, SmartList functions. So now let's drill in and start to see what we can actually capture with our changes. So this is that vendor check that we just changed. We'll double click on this. Once we open this up, audit inquiry is kind of the guts of everything that you want to know. It's our nice little snapshot that shows all the changes. So every audit that you guys do are going to have a date and time stamp, the user that made the change, the workstation that they were logged into when they made the change, company they affected, the event type. So we can capture 3 different types. Additions, so if we were in this case to have created a new vendor, deletes, so deleting a vendor, and in this case, edits to existing records. So we'll always tell you, whether this was a new add or a delete or an edit. And then we'll show you what product we were working with. In this case, GP, but again, this is going to work the same way as SmartFill. All of our products are third-party product friendly. So if you are looking at, the collections management piece, we'll show you if you're working with collections management or the GP stuff. And then we kind of get into the nitty-gritty, the field that was changed, the field that, the table that field lives in, the record key, so in this case, this is that vendor ID that we were working with, the old value, the new value, and then our little note right down here. If you weren't requiring a note, such as that address change, then this field just stays blank. We do have some additional drill back functionality as well. So in this case, this record key might not necessarily be an intuitive value to you. Maybe you're looking at an employee ID number. It's just numbers. We don't know which employee was actually changed. So if we drill back here with our little arrow, we get our audit reference fields. And these allow me, when I'm setting up these audits, to put as much information in here as I need to determine what the value is or who that record was that I was working with. So in this case, I added that vendor ID is equal to this vendor name, so it's Wood Consulting. Now I can go back and find Wood Consulting and change it around if I need to. So this is kind of the main place that you're going to be doing all of your reporting. Like I said, with each of these lines are their own changes. So when we changed that city and that state, they became their own little record in here. So we can really break our reports out to exactly what you want to see. And again, here's an example without that note showing in here. So this would be where you would do 99% of your reporting, but I'll show you one other spot where you can come in and see some reports. So let's grab Wood again. Grab Wood Consulting. So if we're in the actual card window and we pulled up this record, we're able to come up to the additional menu, and we've got our view-related audits here. And what this does is it gives me all of the audits that have happened over time with this particular vendor, in this case, in this particular window. So I'm able to kind of see at a glance all of the changes that pertain to wood consulting. Nice, especially for address changes. So perhaps this address shouldn't have been changed, or I accidentally saved the wrong address to a vendor. I can come back in here and I can get that old value and I can plug that right back in again based on this. I can also print this list out. So maybe I'm looking for trends. Maybe my SA user's been in these records a lot more than they should be. So I can print these trends out. I can also have the same drill back functionality without even having to go to that SmartList anymore, just by double-clicking in the view-related audits window. So this is going to pop up for those main record windows. All of your cards, this will be set up for you automatically. When you're doing this at the transaction level, maybe you're trying to keep track of journal entries that are getting put into GL or sales transactions. I had one customer where we set this up so that we could see all of the changes that were happening to their different sales order processing invoices. So they were able to see, oh, this is when someone added a new quantity onto that particular invoice, and then they changed the extended price, and then they added this item. So it was kind of a nice place for them to be able to see who was adding additional items onto these invoices and then why things were changing. So the view-related audits is a really nice function, to report on that one particular record. So a little bit more about Auditor itself. That's basically all there is to it for using the product. Creating the audits is just as easy. We can come out and we'll actually look at one here. What we have are called Audit Groups. So I've got a few set up here already. And if I wanted to take a look at that purchasing audit that I just did, I can come in here and I can pull open my Audit Group maintenance window. So this is my different types of audits that I have running. And Auditor's cool for the fact that it has 3 different audit types you can select from. So we can capture different pieces of information based on the type of audit you want to run. Form audits, those are wizard-based audits. So basically they're looking at fields on Windows, and they are grabbing the change the second that it happens. So as soon as you tab off, if you were to have changed a last name or the spelling of something, as soon as you tab off, that writes that record, and we've got it sitting in our SmartList. It gets used for some things. A lot of people want that confirmation that, hey, yes, we want this to be the change, that save, post, delete, something that confirms that change. So this is going to capture those changes immediately, whereas a table audit is going to require that user to make a change to the way that record looks in the tables. So clicking on the Save button, the Void button, the Post button, that's going to be what triggers a table audit. That's what I see quite about 80% of my customers use the table audits. And then the SQL table audits are another way that you guys can track everything, so you kind of have that full protection all the way around your GP. We can track changes that happen at the SQL level. So if you're concerned about maybe somebody accessing your table information and maybe writing a delete statement, or they're updating data through the back end, maybe you have an integration that writes direct to table and you want to track what it's writing into your tables, you can do that with a SQL table audit. You can also audit products that aren't even they're outside of GP entirely, but they're on the same instance of SQL. You can do that with the SQL table audits as well. So we really give you kind of that 365 or 360 degree protection around your GP. But let's take a look just real quick at that vendor audit that we were running. So I just grabbed the vendor master file. All I have to know to set these up is what table might make up a window. So I typed vendor. It gave me my vendor options. I grabbed the vendor master because I know that that's what made up that card window. And if we pull the two up alongside of each other, it's easier to look at. Okay, so we're going to go left to right here because that's how I see it. So I pulled up my vendor maintenance window. I know that that's made up by this vendor master. Now, as soon as I plug that in, all of the possible fields that I could be auditing default below. And that's including the ones that are in these buttons. So if I wanted to see some of that option information, that's in these as well. So this all defaults, And basically, I can just come through this window, taking a look at the fields I want to audit, and basically just come and check the box. So in this case, I'm looking at that vendor ID. Yep, I want to audit that. That vendor name. Yep, let's audit that. That check name. Yes, we want to audit that. If I want a note, I mark the note box. If I want there to be that reference information, that's where I can come through and mark all these reference fields if I want to. And then that just kind of goes all the way down the list. So this is just one table that I could be auditing, and I believe I get like 105 fields that I can be auditing at a single time. And we obviously don't expect you to audit all the fields, and we don't want you to audit all the fields. We want you to sit down and actually figure out what are the most important ones to you to audit, so that you're not kind of cluttering your SmartList with excess data that you really don't necessarily care about. But I just wanted to kind of show you how you take a developer or a rocket scientist to do. So it's basically the only technical part you need to be is just to know that this is a vendor table, and we can go out and find which table that relates to. So really, really simple. Just touching on performance, there is a utility built into Auditor as well so that you are able to archive and purge audits. So that way, once you start to get all these audits saved up, you have the opportunity to go in, you can archive everything to an XML or a CSV file. So in the event you would ever need to bring that data back, you would have it. But then you can purge that out of your system so that it keeps your performance running as quickly and as efficiently as you can have it run. And we really don't notice much in the line of like a slowdown or any kind of lagging or anything like that. When you do run into that, it's typically someone is auditing absolutely everything in their system and they're entering thousands and thousands of transactions. And at that point, auditors working a little bit harder to kind of keep up with you. So that's where we do caution you, pick the fields that are important to you and, that you need to know, and let some of the other ones rest or go. So that would be my one word of advice on that. One other thing that's included with Auditor, I won't go into showing it, but we do have a segregation of duties also built into Auditor. So it allows you to create groups. If you need to meet segregation or SOX compliance with the segregations of duties piece, you can go in and you can put it together your groups that are exclusive of one another and then have a place to report on users that are possibly accessing two areas of the system simultaneously that they shouldn't be. So that, again, is included with Auditor. It's free and available for you to use as well. So that is kind of my spiel in general on Auditor and SmartFill. I'll give you just a quick second here. I'll give you my information. We'll take some questions here if there are any at the end, but in the event that you guys are interested in for trying out Auditor or SmartFill, we do offer free trials of all of our products. So you're welcome to let John know that, hey, that looked really interesting, like something we'd want to see. We'll send you a free 30-day trial. You can install it into a test company or your production companies. You don't have to use Fabricam. And you can kind of play around with it. We want our customers to be really happy with the products that they get from us. So that is always an option for you as well. And then as an added bonus, anyone that's watching today's webinar or is working with TMC in general, we're offering a 20% discount on any products that you guys might be interested in through November. So that's something to let us know about if you were on the call. Let John know that, hey, we want that % off as well.
Excellent. That's a great offer.
Yeah. So that's my contact info, and that is my spiel, and I will see if there's any questions.
Thank you, Alicia. I do have a couple questions, and then we can open it to anyone else that might have one. Around the Auditor product, when you are setting up the e-sign and you're requiring a note to be entered for changing a particular value, and you had check name as the example, is there any way to put an attachment to that note? For example, I might have received on company letterhead, please change our records going forward, and they, something that would document why the change is being made in addition to just a text note.
At this time, that isn't in Auditor. I do know that that's been requested, and Auditor is actually going to be going through here right before the GPUG event. We're going to be adding a bunch of new features into Auditor, so I'm hoping that that is actually one of them that they're going to be considering.
Excellent,
So,
thank you.
not available now, but definitely something we would like to see.
Okay, and then the second question I had was around the SmartFill product. Does SmartFill add any of the search functionality if I'm using GP through the navigation lists as opposed to using the drop-down menus and going straight to the windows?
No, I think, so you're asking, so for example, if we were jumping in here, if you wanted to search like through this and start searching for a card or something like that? Is that
No, actually, if you use the icons in the lower left corner and go down, for example, to the purchasing icon or sales, take your pick, either one. And then the first view you come to, of course, is just the palette view, all the windows. But if you navigate now in the top left-hand column and say go to just vendors, all the way left,
all the way
little,
left?
little further left, little further into the next column.
Further.
Yeah, up at the top there's
There
vendors.
Go.
This is what, these are the navigation lists. So I have a very limited, what they call filter function in that main portion of the window. And I could type in, wood, for example, to use yours. But I was just wondering if SmartFill added any advanced filtering or capabilities here, or if it's just inside the windows themselves.
Currently, it's just inside the windows, but this is something that I could only have our support team test out because I'm always finding new functions that SmartFill works in places I wouldn't think it would. Okay. So let me just check into it because it's a possibility we could possibly add it to that particular field because we can add SmartFill to windows that it's not on now, so we might be able to add to that pane too.
Okay, excellent. Those are the only two questions I had. I don't know if anybody else had a question they wanted to pose to Alicia.
I don't. Stunned him to silence.
It's quite possible. Well, let me go ahead and stop the recording then.